I think that's what some of our investors appreciate about us is that when you come from scratch, they know we came from scratch. Like most of our investors know we came from scratch. So knowing that we came from scratch, they know how much we struggled to get that first $100,000, the first $500,000, first $1 million.
Yeah.
They know that. So they know that like when we put the money. This is our first podcast ever, you and I. It's gonna be great because we're gonna talk about what the people want. And the very first question I need to let the people know is what's in your fanny pack.
Oh man. Oh,
What are like when you wake up in the morning and before you strap that thing on, what are the most important things that have to go in your fanny pack?
Yeah. Man. So I've had this fanny pack. I've been loyal to it for about 12 years now. I've had
longer than any of his relationships.
I've had every girlfriend I've ever had trying to, trump the fanny pack, saying, hey, it's the fanny pack or me, and the fanny pack's undefeated. So the fanny pack's not going anywhere. There's a couple of essentials in there that the fanny pack just will always have. Chapstick, for sure.
Gotta have chapstick.
Allergy pills. Toothpicks.
Okay.
My wallet, my passport, a pair of sunglasses, a little bit of tobacco, even though I don't even dip or chew. I do not dip or chew, but you never know what someone else needs. Eye drops, and then, you know what my favorite tool on this entire fanny, 12 gauge shotgun shell, just in case.
That's from recent.
That's from recent.
That's West Texas. Just
one of the coolest gifts I've ever gotten is this little 1-inch.
Oh, show 'em.
Knife.
Show 'em.
This thing right here.
That's the #1 steak knife in the world.
Plug him. Who is it? Who is it?
Well, that came from my uncle.
I know. Who was his name?
Ray Cantu.
Ray Cantu.
Yeah, Ray Cantu, who recently passed away, but he gave us all a gift from Mexico while he was down there. He gave us the sharpest steak knives ever, and they're about an inch shorter than anyone's pinky. So in case you get in a situation, you got to have the steak knife.
That's right. And airport approved, right through the airport, no issues ever.
No way.
No, never.
Dang.
Never.
That's crazy.
I know.
They just allow the knife.
They allow the knife.
Dangerous.
That's right. But yeah, that's the fanny pack. Fanny pack's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, I run with it. I wake up with it.
You run with the fanny pack?
I run with the fanny pack. Yep, fanny pack's on me. Pretty much goes everywhere except the shower.
Let's talk. Let's switch gears. There's a couple topics I had about leverage. You and I had borrowed money before. We borrowed a lot of money at this point, and we've paid a lot of money back. As far as leveraging capital, what are for someone who's just getting into wanting to borrow money, and it's not really like buy here, pay here. It could be, hey, I want to borrow money to go buy a property. What are the tips that you give to the people that want to borrow money for the first time?
Yeah.
Like if someone approaches you and says, hey, Mitch, I want to borrow $50,000. What do I need in order to borrow that $50,000 from you?
Yeah. At first I'd say debt is scary. If you haven't participated in debt, and on both sides, borrowing it or
lending it. Dude, lending it took it to another level.
That's right.
And when we met, you were anti.
Yeah.
You were anti-leveraging, anti-debt.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I was like, when we met, I was like, man, how can I get $1 million? Right. That was just cash like my vision. It's like, how can I get $1 million in my bank account?
Yeah.
Right. I didn't think about investing, taking this money. No, every dollar I made was to buy more inventory, to make more money, so I could see $1 million in my bank account.
Right. And that's not a wrong way to do it. Yeah. That's not a wrong way to do it. If someone wants to scale their business rapidly, they can go borrow money. But like, if you don't want to go borrow money and you want to grow your business, it's just going to take longer. That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I'd say now today, realistically, once a week, someone's asking me to borrow money, right? Once someone's asking me to borrow money.
Yeah.
And I would say 95 out of 100 people, it's like, it's not even a conversation, because I personally don't lend on ideas, right? You have an idea.
Right.
Everyone has an idea. You want to start a beverage company, like there's no collateral behind that.
Right.
Right. So I think for me now, if I was first getting into investing and I got $150,000, I got $200,000, man, I'm not touching an idea because I know how hard it was to get that first $100,000, that first $150,000.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, man, the sacrifices that went into it, the gray areas that were touched, to secure that first $150,000. I'm not trying to go backwards.
I think that's what some of our investors appreciate about us is that when you come from scratch, they know we came from scratch. Like most of our investors know we came from scratch. So knowing that we came from scratch, they know how much we struggled to get that first $100,000, the first $500,000, first $1 million.
Yeah.
They know that. So
Absolutely.
they know that like when we look at their money and we hold their money, we're treating it just like we would treat ours.
That's right. Yeah. At this point, I mean, there's not risk. We don't take risk with money.
Right.
When we lend out money, whether it's ours or an investor's, it's treated the same. It's like it's ours. And it's collateralized every single time. The due diligence is done.
Right.
The I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. And we know when we stamp our name on the deal, like, hey, the deal's making money, period.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten in a situation where, you did a loan and you were like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that?
Yeah. Shout out Sasha Lightman and James Wallace. That motherfucker. God damn. Sasha, if you see this, you still owe me $40,000.
He's going to watch this. Yeah, he's going to watch this.
Yeah, I did a deal. I lost $40,000 on. I had a real good friend. His name was Alexander Lightman. TurboMakesBoost71@gmail.com. That's his email. Oh, yeah. I put up money blindly. Had no clue what I was doing.
Yeah, what year was it?
That was 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably was.
How old were you?
Yeah, I was in 2014, so I was 11 years ago. I was 20 years old. Knew absolutely nothing about lending money.
Yeah.
Guy had an idea.
What did they tell you? They were like, hey, because at the time you don't know about lending money. You don't know about structure. You don't
Yeah,
know how to
yeah.
fee it out, how to, interest and all that, and give them pay schedule.
Yeah, Sasha had a buddy, and he was like, hey, man, he knows how to make money. He's a good guy. He just needs $40,000. He's going to pay you back $50,000. You're going to make $10,000. It's going to take, about a month.
Yeah.
I'm like, awesome. Like, you trust him? Sasha's like, I trust him. I was like,
shout out Sasha.
I was like, with your life. He's like, with my life. I'm like, bam, here's $40,000. Whatever. What is it? 11 years later?
No contract.
I'm still waiting on my $40,000.
No contract. No
Nothing.
right?
Nothing. Just, hey, 40 to make 50. I'm like, no problem.
But
Here you go.
you didn't chase it. Like, what did you do? You
Yeah, I mean, honestly, so, I would say that was one of the, here's some free game. Don't chase dead money, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking like physically going to chase it, mentally. What that does when you lose, I mean, listen, I lost a third of my net worth.
At that time.
At that time.
Yeah.
Lending $40,000 and never seeing it again. For a while, like that has a mental stress that you're like, oh man, how, when am I going to get it? You spend all this time, effort, and energy chasing something that's gone. So it's a lesson, write off the money. It's gone. It's not coming back.
Yeah.
And carry on with your life.
And I know that wasn't your biggest loss. We're not going to talk about the biggest loss, but
yeah.
Let's just, for the people, they need to know, how big was your biggest loss?
Yeah.
You did take an L, a very big L. We won't tell the story yet, at least.
Yeah. I lost I lost over $500,000.
Yeah.
In a
how old were you?
30-day period. I was 22 years old, maybe 23.
$500,000 cash.
Yeah.
Gone.
In less than 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Just 3 chunks. Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. And I guess, how do you pivot from that? Like mentally, like how do you, same thing, like.
Yeah, man. Losing that money, I mean, At 22, 23, I actually had this little nickname that I was actually given. I didn't even tell you this. We're Money Mitch.
Okay.
It came from a Chinese guy who was in a class I was in at Quad C, Collin County Community College.
Okay.
It was a math class, and I would never be paying attention. I'd always be wheeling and dealing. And I wish I knew his name. I don't remember his name, but he was like, oh man, you're Money Mitch. And I was
Asian
guy. And I just chuckled and was like, okay. So when going back to your question, like I found identity in making money.
Yeah.
And I looking back, now 10 years later, the best thing that ever happened to me was lose that money, because
Damn.
I was driven solely off money.
Yeah.
I was selfish because of money, and it was my only concern. I was like, man, how am I going to make that next money? And when you lose
You feel like your integrity was low?
yeah, I would do whatever it took to make money.
Yeah.
You know, like I lived in the gray area. And when you lose that much money and you find your identity in it, it makes you rewrite your identity.
Yeah.
So for a while, you know, I say for a couple of weeks, I didn't feel like working. Didn't feel like, you know, I had a car dealership at the time. Didn't feel like going in and buying and selling cars. You know, I lost a substantial amount of money. And I was like, okay. And again, at a certain point, you kind of have to turn the chapter. You lost the money. It's gone. There's nothing you're doing to make it come back.
Yeah.
So I can either choose to go make more. And I've told you this, like when we met at a perfect time because, you know, I was so selfish before we met that I wouldn't have been able to see the bigger picture. I was just like, man, how am I going to make the next $100,000?
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
and then when I met you, I was like, holy cow, like there's something that you can build here. There's a relationship that can be built here. And then, you know, with relationships, me and you are going to make a lot more money together than I would ever alone or you would ever alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, I spoke about that earlier. Yeah, I mean, this like one of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make in their first year is they try doing everything alone. They don't really understand cash flow, and they really don't, you know, involve their community. They're just so focused and zeroed in, and like you said, like very selfish.
Yeah.
So you learn those mistakes. Yeah, you got to pivot and grow from it.
Yeah.
Failure is the biggest teacher.
And that's why I think, especially now when we're raising capital, right? And we're going through this raising capital journey with asset lending partners, and you know, we're seeing these deals hit our desk, and we're, you know, doing our due diligence, we're vetting these deals. You know, it is in the back of my mind that, you know, I've felt that feeling of losing $500,000 before.
Right.
You know, I've felt that feeling of losing $40,000 before, and I don't want anyone to have to feel that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that
We've
is-
learned how to securitize every
right.
deal at this point.
That is
We've
right.
been there, done that with our own money. So when
That
we
is
come
right.
to the table to raise money, you know, we've been there and done that, and we still do. We still put our money down for, you know, multiple investments. And at this point, when we're raising capital from investors, you know, we know how to treat them. We know how to, you know, how to make them feel secure. And not only that, it's not even a feeling. We know how to secure the deal.
That's right.
Like point
That's
blank.
right. There's no feeling.
Yeah.
It's like the job is going to get done.
Yeah. This is our first podcast. This is just a tidbit of what we're about to do. Yeah, we're going to release a bunch of content. It's great to bring Mitch in. He's my business partner. So we've done a lot of things together over the past couple of years, and we're going to start sharing that content because I think there's a lot of stuff that needs to be said. His fanny pack was one. Everybody wanted to know. I've been getting DMs, like hundreds of DMs a day, just what's in the fanny pack. You finally got it. He's not going to show you yet. That's for the next episode. See you later.